Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to quickly go over some of the things that happened regarding Final Fantasy 15 at the recent Game Developers Conference for 2017. Now, Hajime Tabata was speaking at the event, and quite a few things came to light, including a heart-touching story about his daughter, Final Fantasy 15 and how just close it came to being the end of the Final Fantasy series, as well as some glimpses at a developer or a technical experiment that they're doing on a PC running a 1080 Ti, including new enemy type and destructible terrain. First, we're going to jump right into the good news, and that was how they showed off these technical experiments they're running on the GTX 1080 Ti, the most recently announced NVIDIA card. By the way, shout out to DualShockers. They have the majority of the coverage on this event that I have seen. So once again, using one of their articles, go to the description of the video, give them the hits, give them the love, you know how we do. Now, while most of this is basically just talking about how they got to see the experiments last month, some of you may remember when we mentioned that video or showed that screenshot of things such as the car being able to drive off-road. Well, they actually showed off something quite similar here throughout some of their presentation. As you can see through some of these screenshot slides, you have this right here, and then they begin to go into sort of the how it works when they're going to do destructible terrain right here, all the little different things you can see. There's words for it, but as someone who's not too keen in the industry, I just can't think of what they are. You also have this, which they've been doing as a technical experiment, and they might implement into Final Fantasy 15, and it's the ability to take the car off-road. Yes, the tires do look ridiculous, but it's an interesting idea to be able to use at some point. They've got it working, but it's not exactly the most consistent experience you're going to see. Speeding through some of these, you can see some of the tall grass, some of the other technical feats, the tall grass actually folding behind them. Let's see, what do we have next? Next we have what looks to be, oh, is that a tank? Yeah, I saw a tank right there. You've got the cat and how they render the cat, as you can see, to actually have fur. Now, this was an interesting thing, because apparently one of the other technical experiments that they're running with Final Fantasy 15 is they're trying to make AI smarter. That's one of the big things they're trying to do. An AI that will actually analyze your patterns properly and adjust their combat style depending on what it is that you are doing. Now, of all the enemies for them to test, it had to be the Coral, one of the most frustrating enemies in the game as it is right now. So the last thing I personally want is for the Corals to get any smarter. However, they said that they are not alone on this. They welcome other companies to come in and try to help them get this AI up, because let's be honest, if they could develop something that isn't already in the industry, which I believe there are things similar to this, but maybe they're trying to do it on a different scale, it would be fantastic. And enemies being smarter would definitely be welcome in Final Fantasy 15 overall. Now, moving forward, the more exciting screenshot that most people are talking about is this screenshot, a fight against a Cerberus inside of Lestalem. Now, this was to test destroyable terrain, with the Cerberus being a huge enemy inside of a pretty tightly closed area. Now, considering that this is just a technical experiment, none of these things may make it into the game, some of them might at some point. The fact that they have this fully rendered model of the Cerberus, even though it's only level 47, is exciting to a lot of people who missed this after watching Kingsglaive in the Omen trailer. One of the enemies we all expected to see was Cerberus and probably Dio Weapon. But we didn't get to see either of those. So the fact that they have this, maybe it's going to be popping up in a DLC, maybe it's going to be one of the limited time hunts. They've already got the assets, so just do it, please. Going on a little bit forward, although the camera angle here is atrocious, you can see he was actually thrown through one of the walls, and you can see that some of the stone on the left-hand side is destroyed. I would love this if they could get this fully working to have in Final Fantasy 15 in one of the future DLCs or time-limited hunts. I would love that. So hopefully these technical experiments become technical feats as they complete them. Now, while the Cerberus is a big piece of talking news with the next limited time hunt coming on Monday, March 6th, or Tuesday the 7th, whichever one they decide to do, that's not the only thing that came out of GDC. Now, Hajime Tabata talked about the pressure of completing Final Fantasy 15 and making sure that it was a global success. Now, whether or not your opinions of the game are high or low or somewhere in between, the fact that they have actually sold, not shipped, confirmed sold over 6 million copies was actually very vital to the survival of the Final Fantasy series as a whole. Now, in this screenshot right here, this is one of many just taken off of Reddit, Imgur. I mean, if I press back, it would probably take me directly to the Reddit page. They said that if it sold under 5 million, they would have considered shelving the Final Fantasy series overall, because after the huge process that this game went through, they really needed it to hit big after all these years. Honestly, what they actually needed as a target was that 6 million, so this explains why they very much were proud of announcing that 5 million and 6 million mark when they actually hit them to everybody in the public. What the number it's at right now, I don't know. I don't think any of us know, but it's good to see that Final Fantasy stands strong behind Final Fantasy 15 sales and is going to be supported for quite some time to come. Now, that's not the only story that came out, but the last one you'll probably need to read for yourself. I'm going to include a link to the story itself. I believe the first article I saw for this was on Kotaku, and basically a story where after Episode to Sky, they were maybe 50% done with a fair portion of the game, and Hajime Tabata's daughter came up to him, 6-year-old daughter, and asked him when he was going to be done. And she was like sad in her eyes, and she looked at him, and he had to tell her, not for a while still. But you know what? She told him that she knew what he needed to do, how much pressure he had on him, and that she knew he could do it and that he was working hard. So that really pushed him, and because of that event, they actually started having a family day in the Square Enix office, inspired by Hajime Tabata. I highly recommend you read the original story because it'll probably touch you a lot more than me telling you, but it was fantastic, and it was good to see Hajime Tabata doing okay after what some would consider a shaky launch for Final Fantasy 15. A financial success, but the fan base torn a little bit in between. Even the people who love it have to admit that it has its faults. But anyway, just wanted to share that little bit of news and information. Really hoping to see Cerberus popping up, maybe if we're lucky on Monday. Doubt it. It's not going to happen. Anyway, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for all the latest in Final Fantasy 15 news, information, guides, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.